Alright, let's see. Let's just wait for a few people to get in here, guys, alright? Pop out the chat here. Alright, cool. Alright. Let's take a look at ES real quick, huh? We'll watch it live, futures right now. Just broke the trend line, looks like. Right. Let's see how we close here. NQ is moving nice. Dumped also though. Can everybody hear me good? All right, guys, let's do some stocks. What do you guys want me to look at? Just call out some tickers. If you guys can, just do it as like a format, right? So just do whatever ticker you want me to go over, followed by like the time frame that you're looking on. If you guys think it's gonna go up or down already, then you can say whether you're bullish or bearish, right? But just give me a ticker and then the time frame that you want to look at. AMD. All right, AMD. So AMD was on a nice move up, right? A lot of the semis. Let me hide these. There we go. AMD was on a nice move up. I hear an echo. Any way to fix that? I don't think there should be an echo. Hold on. Let me know if there still is. Hold on a sec. I don't think there should be. Anyway, so AMD was on a nice trend up, right? And then we had a little bit of a sell-off at the highs. Now, we did have a red day on Thursday also, right? And then on Friday, they announced, well, Thursday night, this was Thursday night, they announced news that they're acquiring XLNX, I believe. So whenever a company does an acquisition, usually, guys, you're always going to see whatever company's purchasing the other usually tends to have a drop. So it was a pretty good drop on Friday. It was about 4%, right? Even though the market was surging up. And that's because usually whenever a company obviously buys someone out, they're going to have less cash flow, right? They're using a lot of their cash. Plus, you don't know if the deal went through. You don't know the details of the deal, how they're paying for it or anything. I'm not sure if that news was out yet either about the details. So there's always going to be usually a pullback on whatever company is the one purchasing the other. The other company obviously will spike. I think it was XLNX. Yep, so inversely, right? So the other company is obviously going to soar. So they were up 14%. Huge move, right? Back to 120, jump from 105. So AMD though, anyway, let's go back into it. Basically, I think this is a healthy pullback. It's going to be a good acquisition for AMD. So I do like this pullback. We saw we have a nice bounce, right, at the 20 EMA, which is my blue line, and the 50, which is my yellow 50-day moving average. So I would look to kind of long AMD right around this range, to be honest. I mean, this was a previous high, right? After we took our dip back when the market was tanking from the highs, right? We retraced back to around this $83 range, and then we dumped down, chopped around pretty much at the gap up that we had on earnings, right? And then we've been holding this level here for the past 2 months or so. So if AMD does take a bounce here, we'd be looking at what? We'd be hopefully looking at a higher low here, and it probably will. Because like I said, mostly when a company acquires another, they're going to take a short-term dip, but in the long run, it's a good thing. So to be honest, there's, I mean, not much reason not to buy AMD on this pullback, especially if the market is going to be trending up. It is going to be a good acquisition for them in the long run. If anything, you might see a dip back down to around 82 or so, right in this range. I'm not really even going to draw anything out here. I don't think really have to, because it was mostly a news play, right? Tomorrow's going to be the day where you'll see either a break back down. Maybe we will go back down to these lows around the high 70s or so, right in this range. Here, right? Something like this. So maybe we'll get a bounce around here if it does dip back down, but I think we'll just continue trending upwards from here. Maybe you'll see some chop around here and then like a move back up or something like that. Who knows? But again, a news play, not too much you can kind of go off of. You kind of have to wait a day or two, especially on an acquisition. Sorry, I talked a lot about that, but I love AMD, to be honest. The stock. Cost. Okay, cost. Cool. So we were long cost actually a couple days ago. It looked like it was going to break out. We kind of had like a little cup here, right? Which we ended up kind of doing a little bit of a handle around this area, a little dip back down, and then they came out with strong news. They had their sales were up, I believe, like 20% or something like that. So we saw a break, and we're way above all-time highs now, right? So how do you play all-time high breaks? Well, as long as there's still momentum, we still have momentum, we still have a little bit of volume. Obviously, it's not going to be anything crazy after their earnings, right? Earnings volume is always going to be the highest. But we still have some volume here, nothing crazy. So what we can do is kind of take our extensions, and what I usually do is I usually just use my fib, and then I do the extensions off the top. So 236 is the first target I always go for, and then the 1.5, so the 50% extension, right? So of this whole move from the high to low. So right now we're hitting about 370 almost. That would have been my first target. We did actually hold this from, I think, like 358 or right around 360 or so, and we sold at about 364. But it did have a nice day on Friday. We trended up with the market. Cost is always going to be one of those stocks that you can kind of just buy. It's like recession proof, everybody says. So you can always look to kind of move your money into cost in the event of a black swan event like we had with COVID, right? So they're trending very strong, still in an uptrend. I'd look to kind of probably play this all the way to 380 or so. They're most likely going to keep crushing it. This stock should move with the market, and even on red days, you'll always see that the stock doesn't take too much of a hit. So I would just keep riding this one out for right now. As soon as you see signs of a reversal, right? Maybe if you get to the highs again and then you see another, either you see a reversal doji or an inverted hammer, right? Then you're probably going to want to take some profit off the table, look to enter again on the pullback. Maybe you'll get another entry if it pulls back right around the previous high, right here. So if we do trend up to that 380 range, I would be looking to buy again right at like 365 or so. Nvidia 5 minute. Okay, 5 minute. So Nvidia, just real quick while we're on the daily, kind of the same thing. Semis were trending up really well. Now Nvidia did have trouble getting over this like 565 area. Basically had trouble closing essentially above the candle before we hit all-time highs, which was at this 560 level. So we haven't had a day where AMD can break this level, right? 560. We just haven't been able to really close at it. Nvidia to close at above 560. Did retrace down to about 550, kind of holding strong, but I got chopped a little bit on this play, to be honest. I was looking for that break of 560, but let's go to the 5 minute and see how it looks on the smaller time frames like you'd like to see. So we would like to see hopefully some type of bottom around this range, right? The 540s, high 540s, high 550s. So that's what we kind of do see here, right? You can see that we're kind of bottoming a bit here in the past few days, right? We keep bouncing, but we aren't making, we're not really making any higher lows or anything so far, right? We're kind of just descending down slowly, and it kind of followed with AMD a little bit. To be honest, AMD they had an event also, and they came out with a new graphics card, and I think it was a little bit better than Nvidia's newest one also. So that kind of takes some market share away from Nvidia. Also, if the XLNX deal does go through fully, it'll kind of give AMD more market share also, right? So it kind of devalues Nvidia a little bit. So just from a fundamental point, you kind of want to see how that plays out, right? But anyway, this is a good range again, right? Because it was our previous highs that we couldn't break above. So now what is it? Well, our resistance now turns support here, right? So now we're looking at hopefully a bounce around these levels. The 5-minute chart, obviously, if we get a gap up on futures, hopefully we'll break out of what? Kind of this little, whoops. Kind of this downtrend that we have going here, right? So if you see a breakout of this little wedge here, right, then we probably should see a move up. Otherwise, maybe we'll scramble a little bit, you know, bounce up like this, and then it'll either break to the downside, right? And then what are our downside targets? Wedge would probably go all the way to the 540s, low 540s or so here, right? And then if we continue, oops, if we continue down, hopefully hold here, but if not, you can probably see a drop back down to around 535, and then pretty much every $5 literally is always going to be the support for Nvidia. It always moves pretty well on a positive catalyst, but on pullbacks it usually does like a slow drip. So I'd look for the semis to have a big bounce this week, hopefully, but it kind of depends on the news with AMD. So these are, again, going to be mostly fundamentally driven stocks right now. But anyway, you probably should see a break back up, right? We do have a reversal on the daily, right? Hopefully in this range. So hopefully we could see a bounce back up, and then if we break above this 560 level, it's pretty much a straight shot right to 590 again. So that's what really the best R to R is, right? Because you can do an out of the money call at this point on any close above this 560 range. But if you want to wait in this chop, just make sure you're playing far expirations, or if you're holding common stock, you're probably fine. Otherwise, you could see what? If you do break out of this upward trend, right up here, if you see a breakthrough of, you know, this trend line, it's pretty steep, right? You can see a pullback right to the 20, right? Which will be around 530, roughly right around here, okay? Something like that. Probably will pull back there if we do break out down here. Hopefully then the 50 will catch up as well around this range, and maybe it'll chop around there for a little bit. But semis have been on a huge tear, so. All right, I'm taking a long time with each stock. Sorry, let me just do technicals. But I do love AMD and Nvidia, so that's why I went into depth on them. Sorry. Let's see. Health 50, AMD, and DraftKings. Okay, DraftKings. What time frame on DraftKings? Alex in the room next door, actually. DraftKings. Okay, another like really news-driven stock, guys, to be honest. So when they canceled one of the games, the football games, I think, the other week, Titans game, right? It took a huge drop. A lot of people think that they might stop some of the games, but it all depends on COVID, really. But anyway, had a huge breakout, obviously above these highs back in June, right? So we saw all of the gambling stocks like Penn, DraftKings, what's the other one? Can't think of it off the top of my head, right? So we had a big break above this level, but if we do end up breaking back down, this is where I would look for longs again if it does have another red day. Also, this would match up with what? Well, it's probably going to be right where our 50-day moving average comes into play. Overall, though, I do like DraftKings and Penn for the most part. I do believe they are a little bit overextended, though, and it was time for a pullback. I know that there's a lot of hype around these, around the gambling, stocks right now, right? Because obviously there's nothing for everybody to do, so everybody wants to get back into it as soon as possible. But I wouldn't, go aggressive in some of these. They're priced pretty outrageously right now from a fundamental point. But if you're strictly playing the chart, you could look for a bounce around this range again, right? We already did 1 tap, 2 tap, possibly 3 tap here, but I think we're going to continue downwards. It all depends, again, on COVID and if they're going to be, they might cancel a Tuesday game as well. One of our coaches got COVID. Yeah, so exactly. It's going to really depend on what's going on with sports right now, right? So that's mainly it. But anyway, from here, yeah, you could try a speculatory long here, right? If you wanted to take it here, it's a very easy spot to long, right? With a tight stop, and then you just would go probably for these previous highs here, right? Something like this. around this range, and then hopefully if it breaks up to all-time highs, but probably wouldn't want to play this one too aggressively. The safest trade would be to take down here, right? If you can get something like this and then swing up back to this level, and then at least you have a safe long, right? A little bit of a safer long around the mid 40s or so, and then continue up. Space. So space finally has gotten some movement, right? It was in this huge chop range, just literally trending down, right? Wasn't making any higher lows, nothing. We kind of made a higher high almost here, right? But it didn't close above the previous one, so ended up getting rejected, dropped back down. After the hype died down with space, when they did their TV commercial or whatever it was where they showed the actual inside of the cockpit, they got crushed. So, sorry, am I looking at this on the daily? Make sure you guys say what time frame to look at. I'm just going to go with the daily if you don't put one. Anyway, so broke out of this downtrend here, right? Obviously, we had a steady move down. I'm not sure why they popped 25% this day. But anyway, we had a little bit of a pullback from there, right? And then what we can see is that we broke above these highs again. And this corresponds with our previous range, right? You always want to see how far back all of these levels match up, guys, right? They're always going to come into play. And this is what we always want to stress to you guys, to always look left, right? See where previous price had trouble getting over, right? Because what is going to happen when you break out of that range? If you do break out, hopefully, if you miss that breakout entry, if you're going for some of these retrace entries, right? Like right here, when it pops back up, when it pops back over this level, you want to look for that retrace back to the zone, right, for a long. So this is where I would look to kind of try to take some speculatory longs. You do want to wait for a daily close, maybe like a doji or something. So you want a similar candle to here, hopefully around this range, right, in the 20s. Hopefully it doesn't lose $20 or so. But you could take a long here. I'm not too sure exactly if the stock's going to keep moving up from here. They are pretty much fundamentally driven also right now. I'm not too sure what this 25% day was. That would be good to know. But anyway, not too much here either. Right now you kind of just have this that it could fall back to, right? So if you do chop around here, maybe you'll get some chop like this, and then I'd look to take a long here, or if you already see the breakout at this level here, right, then you can long it up for a move up. Targets up, or targets down, whoops. Targets down would be easy, right? If you have break of this trend line right here, then you're probably going to retest where? Probably this range right here, right? Something like right here. Which would line up with what? Your 200 and your 50 day moving average, something like that. Targets up, obviously we have to get around this huge chop block here, right? So that's pretty wide range, 25% itself. So, you know, targets would be probably 23, 50, something like that, right around that range, 24. Lulu, love it. So Lulu's having pretty good move up also from a dip. They kind of soared with Nike a bit these past few days. I remember Nike had some news. But anyway, so where did we see a bounce on AMD? Strong bounce, right? Same thing. We had a strong bounce out of the previous lows that we saw back in June, right? June, July. So this was a very good spot for what? To look for possibly a V. Their earnings were, I think they were shit, honestly. I think they had a really bad earnings. They dropped 7.5% on ER, right? There was a huge sell-off going into earnings also, which usually doesn't happen the previous 3 days at least. But into earnings, what did we have? You had a huge run up. Everybody thought they were crushing it. They bought out the company called Mirror, which I actually have. It's like a workout mirror. You can kind of do it at home. So they must have been doing pretty good going into ER, but I think I think they did have a good ER, to be honest, but it wasn't anything crazy, right? So a lot of people think that a lot of these companies, when they say they're doing good, they must have some crazy numbers right now, and you need some crazy numbers in order to show that everyone should have their money in at these all-time highs, right? But anyway, we see a big move back down, right? So if we take our fib, oops. Right, where are we going to run into some Areas of resistance, well, we have this first one here, which is at the 50% retracement, right? Back up on the short side, but where would I look for targets if we are breaking above there? Definitely right around GP here, right? Right in this range. 370, high 360s, right? That's where I would look if we do break out of this zone here. Maybe we'll see something like this, right? And then move back up. I don't think we would break above this area here. I don't think, you know, the 380s or so. There is going to be a little bit of VPVR resistance as well, right? Right around this range. I don't think that would break out until kind of next year, to be honest, or maybe into their next earnings. But we'll see what happens. I don't think that we'll see a push for some of these stocks that kind of just flew, right? I mean, they're literally up over 200% from the lows. Excuse me, up 100% from the lows, right? So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's what I would look for. Lulu kind of did like what? We're looking at like a V almost, right? It looks like a good V so far, but we'll see what happens. I would look for shorts right around this area though. Right now is a good time to short too, if it did see some resistance on like the hourly or something, which most likely we did. Yeah, we have a few wicks to the upside, right? So if we get a breakout of this level, you could look to play it long again. Work 1 hour. All right. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. Work, beautiful uptrend, right? So this is over how long? This is about a month right now we're looking at, right? So we have a huge steady uptrend, which is great so far. Huge day. Let me just look at the daily real quick, to be honest. All right, yeah. Wow. So work had a huge surge recently. Obviously, work is Slack, right? We use Slack here in the group, but this is going to be one of your stay-at-home stocks, right? So it's always going to see some good momentum. If anything, with COVID is kind of worse, to be honest, right? But some companies might be keeping them afterwards, so it's definitely a good stock to have on your watch. Anyway, on the hourly though, let's turn off extended hours here. Obviously, huge uptrend, right? We have support along the entire thing going up, and then it kind of extends even higher into more of a parabolic move, right? But usually your parabolic moves will be found by a sharp pullback. So what we can look for is, and where we are now, again, same thing, guys, on the hourly, right? We're right at this range, right? Resistance was here, resistance here, we broke out, kind of chopped around here, rejected a move back up, and we had a steady downtrend. Then they had earnings, which everybody thought was going to be something insane, right? Being that everyone's using Slack from home, but apparently wasn't. So we saw a huge sharp drop. Now we're building back towards those highs that we were at before earnings, right? And moving back towards those highs we were at before the earnings drop. So we can see some resistance around this area. I would like to see it come back and hopefully chop around a little bit before continuing higher, just to get some cool off, right? But what we can maybe see is maybe a bounce off the 20 if we get a little bounce here, right? If we see a pullback right around this range, right? And then hopefully if we do get some type of chop, let's take this off. If we do get some type of chop here, maybe we'll come back and we'll test this trend line right here, right? And then if we can bounce out of this area here, go back into the highs that we had previously, all right, maybe around like 33 or so, and then maybe retest back down. But to be honest, Slack, again, huge move up. You gotta always use the daily chart, especially if you're looking at like the hourly or 4 hour, because your hourly or 4 hour are gonna run into your daily zones, right? So this is going to be a huge choppy area to get over, this 32 range. Well, you can use VPVR here, guys. This is where you're going to see the amount of shares traded at these prices. If you see a move past 32, right, above this area, right, it's kind of a straight shot back to the highs. You'd have another resistance at like 35 maybe or so, but you can see there's no volume, no shares traded here. So if we do get back above this huge chop block at 32, 33, we should see a move higher. But yeah, it's trending up still. Just be careful. Again, it's pretty parabolic, right? Last day that we had was a lot of volume as well, but if you go back to the hourly again, these are the hourly levels I'd be looking at, right? Move back to 30 or so. Crowd, another pretty easy one to spot right now, right? In a huge uptrend up, right? Pretty much parabolic as well, which is great. You want to know something? Nancy Pelosi just bought like $1 million or something of shares in Crowd. I think someone posted it in the group. Something to note. I think she just did it. Anyway, Crowd. Where are we right now? Well, this is all-time high, right? Yeah. All right, so we're at pretty much all-time highs almost, right? Again. Going into earnings, same thing. Had a huge run up. A lot of these stocks that are COVID stocks, tech companies, huge runs up into ER, and then they kind of crashed after the numbers weren't as much as people expected. Still good, though. After earnings, a lot of these tech companies to buy up right around these levels that they retrace to on a subpar ER, right? Because if they're doing well now, hopefully they will do better going into the future after everything settles. Anyway, so where are we now? Well, we're basically just kind of bouncing every time off of what? Chopping around the 20 EMA on the daily, and then just bouncing off this trend line. The trade still on this stock is going to be long until you break below this trend line. You have a daily close. If you get a daily close below the trend line here, then what can you look to play? Well, here you look to play it right down to the 50 or so, right? From there, hopefully you see another bounce, because what do we have around this range? Support again right here, right? So we'd look for something like that. But otherwise you can play it long. Hopefully you can get a long out here at the 20 again and this trend line, and then hopefully you see a move higher, but it would need, let's see how far we are off all-time highs. We're about 6% off all-time highs, so we should see a move, hopefully up off this trend line again if you are long. If you are bearish, you should see a sharp pullback if you do break this, and then you could see an even further dump, right? But I don't think Crowd's not really one of those stocks where you see some crazy sell-off, personally, I don't think. But if you do see a dramatic pullback off of this trend line, if you see a drop, then you would be looking at where? This range again, 120. Okay, that would be a very good value to buy. But yeah, something like that. Apple. Oops. There we go. Apple. All right, so Apple, this looks good also, right? We had a huge pullback. Tech all had a pullback after what? After the stock splits that we had, and after we were basically at all-time highs, right? Apple was at all-time highs. Huge pullback. Broke out of this downtrend here, right? We didn't even really get to catch it because it was a gap up. And you might have gotten kind of faked out here a little bit if you're playing options, right? The range isn't really that good that it was in here. It's only about a 3% range so far. 3.5%, 4% from the lows, probably around 4%. Yeah, 4.5%, right? So if you are able to break out of this range again, then I definitely look for longs back to where? Well, again, right around here. Again, we're going to be using VPVR. Always look at VPVR, guys. It'll show you where the you don't even really need to line. If you didn't even look at the candlesticks on this chart right now, right? You could literally look at VPVR and kind of get an estimate where your support and resistance would be. And the red line coming out here is the it's called VPOC, so it's the highest point of shares traded. So at 114.52, that's the highest number of shares traded. If I'm zooming out a little bit now, it's 114.40. Anyway, you can take a look at this and you can kind of see if we do get a breakout here, where would we have support? Support would be here if we are above. If we are above this level, right, then your support is here. If we are below, then your resistance is going to be here. So if you just look at VPVR, you can kind of see where would our resistance probably be if we break out of this range. Are we going to go a straight shot pretty much here? Yeah, there's not really too many shares traded. And what can we see at the candlestick price action around these levels? Well, it's pretty much either a straight shot down or a straight move up. Okay, so that kind of shows you where people have orders set usually. Also, this 125 range was what the previous resistance level that we couldn't get over for a bit. Popped back up, went to all-time highs at around 137, and then after the split, Huge dump down. So Apple should see a nice day. We have the event or the iPhone release, I think soon, right? I think they said it's all the new ones that they release now will have 5G. I believe that was a big announcement that they just said this weekend. So you probably we'll see a move higher. So if you do see a move higher, hopefully you'll be able to break out. Hopefully you'll be able to break out of this range here, right? So hopefully we'll see a move higher. It's kind of like a triangle here, right? So if we can break out to the upside right above 117 or so, if we get a daily close, then you can easily see a run back to where maybe you get like a retest here, back to this level, right? And then you probably see a move back up. Something like that. You can see an explosive move up on Apple on some of these event days, right? Obviously, the last one was a sell the news. I think it was the event they had with like the iPad and everything and the watch, and that was like a huge sell-off. But then it kind of moved back up afterwards. But tech was due anyway. Let's see. Beyond. This stock doesn't stop. This stock's literally insane. So Beyond, it's like whenever it has a little bit of a pullback and you think it's cooling down. What time? Do we have a time frame? No? All right, so we'll use the daily. This stock, so literally whenever this stock has some type of pullback or like sideways action, what happens the next day? They announce a new partnership. It's like partnership lately. It's crazy. They're getting in everywhere. Let's see, do they have the news on here? I forget how they have news. Plant-based breakfast sausage links. They did somewhere. They just had a new one with somebody. I don't know who it was. But anyway, keep this stock on watch at all times. This is like this is a huge momentum stock you can play in the morning. We love playing this stock. It's like a Roku type stock, right? You're always gonna get these big moves early in the mornings. Usually, you're always gonna see a huge momentum push when it does break key levels, right? So you can see here, right? Once we broke out of this 160 range, we back tested it, right? Back tested the highs at 165 after we broke out, and then we just surged back up. So this stock, again, I would look. It always runs hard, right? But again, it's had a hell of a run. Now if we're going back to these all-time high levels, which is when it came out, it was funny because stock wasn't worth anything that it was pricing itself at these $200 ranges. But now that they have all these partnerships and everything, it's kind of getting a little bit more value to itself, right? So here's our all-time highs. Let's just leave this up. But where should we look to short? Definitely around here, right? Highly doubt we're going to push up here on one go at least. So I would look to kind of get a short in right around this level here. So if you do see price go around this $200 range, probably look for a short around here. So hopefully then we'll back test either this 170 range or so if we come back to the ground a bit. But if not, where do you want to look for a pullback to? Maybe the halfway part of this whole move, right? So it's about $30 or so. So in this 180 range, which probably lines up, yep, right around here or so, right? Something like that. But Beyond probably will keep pushing up. Again, look in this $200 range. It's also going to be a mental level to watch, right? But the $200 range, if you do break up out of it, you could take a long, obviously, where to the all-time highs, which should be a pretty straight shot from there. But great chart, great stock to play, great stock to trade. Owning it at these levels, not too sure if you would want to be an investor right now. But one of my favorite stocks to trade. I don't trade it that much, to be honest, but Timmy in the group always does all the time. And a couple of the other guys. Let's see. When are we looking? Oh, yeah. So that's when we're looking for puts. All right. EA. All right, EA. So I actually like EA here. I think we're in EA. Yeah, I signal to play in EA. So I like EA here. Why? Because we're kind of at these lows, and it doesn't look too good, right? It didn't kind of look like we were gonna break back above this level, right? from the highs. But what do we have here? Well, a support level, right? And we could see that this was the previous zone that we couldn't break out of. There was a huge wedge here, right, for quite a while, and then we kind of exploded to the upside. This was also what? This was also our chop range from back in the end of 2018, mid 2018 as well. So where do we want to look for EA to go from here? Well, we want to see a breakout of this trend line, right? And it doesn't look that good also because we don't have our break of the 20, right? We haven't been able to kind of move with momentum above the 20 EMA. We're being held down by this trend line here, as well as the 50 above it, right? But now what do we see catching up, guys? That's always going to be strong. Our 200-day moving average, right? It's always going to be a good sign to buy if we get a price retracement to around the 200-day moving average. Now, we didn't quite go down this way. Why? Well, we have this huge support zone, right? This was our previous resistance, right at around 120 or so, right? So this is where we're bouncing again. So we took a play yesterday, or the day before, I think Thursday, right? Yeah, we took it on Thursday. So we took a long here, and I liked it here because, well, while there was a lot of sell-off volume, right, this is going to be a spot where you can kind of get a relief bounce in. And if you're going to be playing it, you have a lot of confluence, right, with the previous levels here. Plus you have your 200-day moving average as kind of your stop, right, if it breaks below here. So you can kind of hold this back to these highs around this range here. So hopefully what I'm hoping for is we get something like this. Honestly, I'll probably be taking profit around 130s or so just because we're doing it on the challenge, right? But what you could see is either a move like that up here, right? And it's either going to probably break out here, hopefully. Otherwise, you might see a continuation down. And then you'll either have one of two scenarios. You either have some downside here, right? But I highly doubt we'll see that. Otherwise, most likely you'll see some type of move up, retrace here, and then move back to where? Right around these levels, right? Right? Something like that. But again, I'm just looking to take this trade right now to this zone right here. Okay? For those of you who are in there. Fong, hello, I'm here to learn about stonks. Let's see. EA, that means the Slackbot alert might actually work for once. Oh yeah, for space? Yeah, it might. If there is going to be on the daily, right? That doji. Peloton. Woo! Look at this. Holy shit. Peloton, another workout at home stock, right? Huge move up. Huge move up. I mean, this is actually insane from the lows, right? Right around 20 bucks at COVID lows. Now we're at 123, 6 times the price, right, guys? How do you play these? How do you play these? Well, you really just get in on any pullback to some type of support resistance zone that you had prior, right? Honestly, though, this stock's gonna probably keep running. A lot of people have been purchasing their Peloton machines, right? I think they did a partnership as well. But if we do start to see everything reopen and everything with the gyms, you could get an aggressive pullback. So obviously you have a huge move from the $80 level, right? We kind of did a move from this chop range that it was in the high 60, 70, right, to around just short of $100. Rejected at $100 on earnings. Again, people thought it was probably going to crush. They did good on their earnings, but of course, you know, you have to have blow off the top numbers in order to break your all-time highs, right? So what did we see? A pullback to the 20 EMA. And then now we're kind of just steadily trending up, right? We saw a little bit of resistance again at this level, right? Chopped around here, retested 80, what are we at? 88, and then created this trend line now that we're steadily holding. So what can you look for? Well, you can't short this, right? You can take some speculative shorts around this level, right? But until you see signs of a reversal, there's really no point, guys. You want to see a candle like this, right? You want to see an inverted hammer. You want to see some type of doji, if possible, for a reversal. But really, you want to just wait for this trend line to break down. I personally will not be swinging this long. The only way that I would do it is if we get a pullback, right, to around somewhere like this level here. Oops. somewhere like this level here, right? Hopefully. Otherwise, what we can expect is probably just a slow grind up. Whenever you see this trend line get retested, you can take a speculative long, maybe on a shorter time frame, right? But you want to have a tight stop because if it does ever close below this trend line here, 115 or something like that, or if it gets up here to 125 and breaks, you're going to see a sharp pullback probably to around the $100 range, maybe 105 or so. But let's look at the hourly. Hourly strong. It's just a continued move up. We're still above all the moving averages, right? There's really no signs of it slowing down. So just look for daily close. A very, very, very bearish daily close you want. You want it to be a bearish engulfing, right? So you want it to engulf the previous candle. Couldn't do it here, right? Didn't break below. So you want to wait for that. Mostly day trade this. That's what I would do. Or wait for that pullback. AT&T. All right. Wow. They got crushed. And they're still getting crushed. So AT&T, some of the dividend stocks are getting crushed lately, right? A lot of them. XOM, just to name a few. I'm not going to search them all right now, but there's going to be a lot of value in some of these names, guys. You want to look for levels to long at these lows, right? And that's where we bounced again. Right here, right? Good spot to start acquiring shares. AT&T doesn't really move too much, right? I don't know what their earnings is going to be looking like. We have earnings coming up on the 22nd, so in about 11 days. But you do want to watch AT&T here for a break of what? Hopefully this downtrend. But what do you have holding us down? 50-day moving average, constantly holding us back, right? 20 EMA as well on the daily, holding us back. Not really any signs of a move up. You want to see your 20 EMA hopefully cross up the 50. You want to see the blue cross up on your yellow, right? 20 cross up the 50 before you want to take a swing long. You could try a swing long here though, right? We do have a large area of support around this $28 range. And of course, they do have a good dividend. So you definitely want to look for longs around this range, especially if you're looking at shares, right? But again, you probably might want to just wait for their earnings, see how the company does. Because if you see a drop from here, I mean, we'd have to really go out, right? This is a very, very strong zone, right? This is 2018, 29, beginning of 2020 lows, right? First start of COVID. This is just going to be a huge support zone, right? But if you see a move down from here, you would look at a drop all the way to here, right? Something like this. So, yeah, this level just goes back far. So this is what I would look for. I would look to kind of short it if we see a weekly close below here, all right? Below like 27.75, right? This would be like your short area here, and then your target's there. Otherwise, what do you want to do? You're taking a long here, maybe. You could take a long with a stop there, inversely, right? Your stop would be below here. And then you'd hopefully make a move up here. And then this is going to be a tough area to break right here, though, right? Oops. This is going to be a tough area to break right here. This $30, $32 range, right? Especially $30 range. You can see on the daily right now. Huge resistance around $30, $31. So you're gonna have to wait for a big break here. If you do get a daily close again though above this trend line, that's gonna be a good swing. But if you want to acquire shares here, I'd probably be looking to right now also for a longer term position. But again, T doesn't move too much, so you're gonna just have to see what happens. But I would be bullish at these levels. Again, very strong zone to long on the weekly and on the daily, right? So we'll see what happens. McD. McDonald's. So McDonald's also kind of like recession proof as well, right? Saw a sharp dip in whoops, we're on the daily. on the weekly there. Let's go to the daily. Usually going to fare pretty well during a type of recession deal or black swan event, right? They're going to always still have customers. Right now, a lot of people have been using the drive-through, obviously. A lot of people have been going to order. Whenever I go past the one by our house, it's always mobbed. It's literally like a line around the freaking corner the whole time. But anyway, they did a couple partnerships. They did one with Travis Scott. They did one with J Balvin right now. It's been going good. Same store sales, I think, for them were up like 20% or something like that this past quarter, which is great. Anyway, we broke out all-time highs, though, right? I think all-time highs. Let me just double-check. Yep, okay. All-time highs here, right? So now what can we look for on McDonald's? Well, they're doing great, as we've heard in the news. So from a fundamental point, the value's there. So what do we look for? We look for a long back here, right? You might not get this perfect long at 220 or so, 222, but hopefully it will retrace a bit, and you can take a speculative long right around this range, right? And then for a move higher. Now, how do we pick a target here? Well, it's kind of a little bit hard to do that, right? You can kind of look for it. Let's go to the hourly. All right. So on the hourly here, right? $230, $233, but if you see a big move up, obviously, then this would be final target, right? So 1, 2, 1. Something like this. Okay. But hopefully we backtest this area right around 222 or so, right? And then you should just keep running. I mean, it hasn't rode up past all-time highs like a lot of these other stocks, right? So with news and with a lot of good catalysts still and the market driving higher, will we see a move up on McDonald's? Most likely. Thanks for explaining. Yep, great. Is this going to be posted in YouTube? Yeah. REGI long term. Okay, so another great stock. You guys are picking a lot of these that are like super news driven right now, to be honest, like more so than anything else. But anyway, a lot of these renewable energy companies, these solar companies as well, they're all mooning right now. They're all doing really well. I'm not sure if they're pricing in some type of Biden victory, right? Because a lot of these energy stocks will perform really well under a Biden administration, I think. So you definitely want to keep your eyes on them, and they have been moving dramatically higher recently, like I've just said, right? But the question was long term, good financials, but it has been on a run lately. I mean, I can't buy any. I don't know too much about this company. I'd have to look it all up, to be honest. I'm not sure. But it's at all-time highs right now. Am I going to be an investor? Probably not. I mean, I want some type of pullback, right, in order to get in. So if you can get some type of pullback, hopefully to like this trend line, you know, maybe around, if it's going to continuously do this, and then we see a nice pullback maybe around here. If you see a move back up, and then you can see a touch of the trend line, you could probably buy some if you believe in the company long term. But for right now, it's kind of just trending up. It's just going to keep going up into the election. I think a lot of these renewable energy and these solar companies, they're just having huge moves. I mean, look at BE as well, Bloom Energy, right? Big move up as well. Where's some of the other ones? I can't think off the top of my head right now. But a lot of these solar companies are doing really well right now. But where would you want to look for hopefully a pullback? Well, hopefully to the 20 EMA. We could see that on the daily. It's been holding really well, right? And hopefully that would line up with where our trend line. But again, the stock's not slowing down right now. It's kind of the same as what were we looking at before? Beyond, right? So as long as things are going well catalyst-wise for them, it's going to continually run up. You want to look for a type of reversal. You could have speculated that this was going to be a reversal right here, right? At the $60 price. but we didn't see confirmation. There wasn't another day afterwards of sell-off, so kind of put in one here as well too, right? Sold off a little bit, but then it was bought right back up. So just keep your eyes on it. I wouldn't be playing this at all unless we get a retrace back to this trend line, or if we go back to where this level here, right? Something like that. But yeah, sorry, I'm not too sure how I would play that one, to be honest. Netflix. This one was great. This was a great long at this range, right? Really, really good long. Now where are we? Well, we're almost going back to the previous highs. What are we looking at here? Right? Kind of in a channel. So what can happen here? A couple things. It's either going to break out here, maybe we get a back test of this range and then break up to all-time highs. Otherwise, what might happen? Another move down, right? Something like this. Bottom of the channel, maybe make a higher low this time, or bounce here and then move up. Maybe go down. Who knows? Earnings. Earnings. This stock will be a big mover on earnings, I think, going into the end of the year. So watch the earnings in, I think it's next week. Yeah, today's the 11th, so it's the 20th. So next week, right? Not sure if we will see this push past 560 before earnings, but we'll have to see how they're pricing it on the options chain. We'll have to see how price is moving this week, right? Going into earnings. But it's either going to blast past all-time highs, obviously. Otherwise, probably going to see a sharp retracement, to 490 or around this 480 range again if it is a bad ER. Netflix does tend to move pretty well on earnings. You can see here, move 6.5%. Last earnings before that, I think it was a non-mover actually, last one. But with COVID and everything, earnings are going to be big. Why did you think we could have caught Netflix dip? I'm not sure what you mean. Why do you think we could have? I don't know. I wish we did. I think we did. I think we did play Netflix around that level. I think we took profit a little bit early though. But it was a nice break, right? And you can see on the 4 hour. Let's get rid of these. Right? Alright, you almost have like our little support line here, right in the middle. So once we broke out here on the hourly, it was a nice long. This is the 4 hour, sorry. Alright, Maxar. Do you think T will move with Apple phone news? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not too sure. I haven't really watched like Verizon or T too much in a while, to be honest. So I'm not too sure how they react during phone events. Maybe though. Alright, Maxar. Don't know this company too much. Aerospace and defense. Okay, cool. Where are we right now? You said no time frame, so we'll look at the daily. All right. Maxar. So Maxar, I kind of like this chart a little bit, right? We saw a pretty. Oh, whoa. Damn, what happened here? All right. Never mind. I don't like it anymore. For a long, at least. So that's why you always have to look back, guys. Chart looks great here, right? It looks like we're in a steady trend up, right? Everything's going well, and then you look back and you see this. So this was a huge gap down. So what you want to do is always look at and see if there's any previous levels that will come into play. So what do we have now? Well, we have this previous support, right? Broke down and then earnings gap and just never recovered. Stock never recovered until now. So what can we look for? Well, don't know anything about the company, honestly, but it looks like it probably will stay around this range or so into earnings in a little less than a month, okay? But what you can do is you can look to play, hopefully, a retrace to where? Hopefully this trend line. And where do you want to look for longs? Well, you hopefully want to look. It's still making kind of higher lows here, right? So we have a pullback here, a little higher, and then another little higher, right? But we had a strong rejection on Friday of this same level, right? $30. It doesn't look like they want to break 30. But if you do see a break of $30, then where can you look to long to? Probably just short of about 33, not too much. The real runner would be where if you do break above like 30, I know it's quite a ways up already, right? But the real runner would be if you break this level here, right? 37, then you can see a run back to like 43, something like that. So this is what I'd look for, something like this. But I wouldn't go in unless you see a daily close above 30, okay? Otherwise, what could we see happen? Maybe goes back to here, right? Trace up. And then a breakout, right? That's one scenario. Otherwise, what can happen? Obviously, a dip back down to where? Previous lows here. And then otherwise, what? Kind of have support here also, so probably we'll just keep dipping down. Right around here. Right? Something like that. Yeah, no problem. I don't know the stock though. So, no fundamentals from me. What else, guys? You guys slowed down the chat. What volume profile tool are you using? It's called Visible Range. VPVR. This is my settings. Tesla. Tesla, we need a close above 430, and that's what we just got, right? We got a close above this 430 level, which has been pretty much of a nuisance in the past. This is going to be like just over the past like week or two. Broke above 430, got instantly rejected back down. Huge sell-off day, right? Stock was down 7.5%, awful. And then kind of held the 20 EMA so far. And right now, we are looking for another move higher. Now, what do we want to see on Tesla? We really just need what? We need a breakout here, right? We need to break out. We can look at the 4-hour or the hourly rather. It'll be pretty clear. We need to break out of this level, right? The only other thing that you can see is if you could either take that wick or not. If you wanted to take the wick, it would probably be a little lower, right? Something like this. But you're either going to see some chop right around this range into the apex of this giant level from about 400 to 430 or so, right? Otherwise, I think, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see a breakout. Obviously, it looks like it's setting up for a move higher. We've been holding these levels. Obviously, most of these institutions and retail buyers are always buying up Tesla, right? But what are you looking at here, basically? You're kind of just looking at this, right? Hopefully to break up. On the hourly, again, same thing. We want to look for a breakout of either 440, hopefully a daily close, but realistically anything above 450 sends us where? Back to all-time highs, right? So if we get above here, then we're in good territory, right? But when can we long this stock? Swing long, you could take a speculative one now, right? Like I just said, but realistically you want a nice 4-hour close above this level. I'm not sure, I forget why we had this dip. 6%. I'm trying to remember. I usually remember everything. Does anybody remember? Let me know if you do. But Tesla always. Any news? Oh, battery day, right? Yeah, that was battery. No. Yeah, that was battery day. Was it? No, it was a little longer than that, right? I don't know. Anyway, big sell-off though on Tesla, obviously, the other day. So I'd look to buy up anything that you can whenever this stock does dip, especially on a sharp retracement. But again, a good spot for a definite long for me would be around 400 or so, 390. Otherwise, you can play this breakout of this level here, right? Hopefully it close above 440. Again, what do we look at here? Same thing, right, guys? Visible range, VPVR. Any close above 445, it was 450 range is a straight shot to where there's no resistance, right? Look at VPVR here. There's no price action that says that we're going to reject this level until maybe 480 or so. Otherwise, right to the highs. Deliveries? No, the deliveries were good. I'm pretty sure. So I don't know. All right, PayPal. PayPal. So PayPal, immediately I look at it and we can see that what happened here. Well, we had a nice trend up, same thing, right? Along with all these stocks, really, throughout COVID, right, from March. But what happened? We saw finally a trend line break, right? And it kind of tried to hold here, but came up, back tested where? Basically at, let's move that over for right now. Back tested the 20 EMA on the daily, right? And then immediately got rejected down. Didn't even really take a pit stop here, right? Oops. Didn't really take that much of a pit stop. Actually dumped right back down, right? We had a pretty, I think this was the day we had a huge sell-off in the market though, so it's expected. But it held where? The next range, right? Right here. Was able to continue back up, and now we're kind of just sitting near these all-time high levels again, probably waiting for earnings or so. But how can we play this stock? Well, we could wait for what? Either a breakdown here of what? We have our trend line now here. We have also the 20 EMA and the 50-day here as well. So if we get a daily close below that, it's going to be bearish for sure. But where are we sitting? And that's what I drew up before. Our fib, we are at the short GP, right? And that's where it got rejected the first time, held the 50%, and then now we're holding around the 50-day moving average, the 20 EMA, this trend line. So if we do get a break out of the short GP here, right? If we get a move up higher, it does something like this or like this. I take any longs kind of on a breakout here back to where all-time highs are set. Otherwise, what are you looking at? You're probably going to look at a drop back down to where? This level here, right? Okay. Which time frame do you use for day trading? 3 minute, 5 minute, or more like 15? I personally only use for day trading 5 minute and the 15. That's pretty much it. I would rarely go down to like the 2 minute. Sometimes I do. But I always look at like the hourly and the daily for signs of resistance, right? Because I could be playing it on the 5 minute and I could say, oh, it looks like it's going to break out here. But then I see that the only room it has to run on the daily might be like, I don't know, 1% or so. Because when you're looking at the 5 minute, or for instance, here, right, we can see that there's resistance most likely going to be around this $200 range, right? But if we look at the 5 minute, let's just get rid of everything. But if we're just looking at the 5 minute and we're not taking into account everything that happened, what are we going to say here? Oh, this looks great, right? We're going to say, oh, it looks great right now. If it breaks out of here, it's going to surge. But no, you zoom out and you would see this on like the hourly or the 15. You always got to zoom out. You can see that you don't really have that much room to run, right? You really have to close above 200. So you can use any time frame really. For day trading, I would recommend the 5, the 15. Just make sure that when you are using them, man, you zoom out on like the 4 hour or the daily, just to get those levels, all right? Citi. All right, I think I like this. This is the 5 minute. Damn. Oh well. Yeah, so I had this marked out for a while. Citi got crushed. They were told by like the SEC or someone, I don't know, I forget what government agency, that they got to check their risk rules or something like that. I forget what it was. Maybe it's here. Let's see. I don't know. Something with regulators. I don't know. Something with risk, but it was huge. Big thing, right? Citi, this stock doesn't really move that much. As you can see, it's been in a huge chop range for a couple months. Just in a short range of about 8%, right? And for COVID, that's not that much, right? For all that's going on right now, for these past, what, how long? 102 days, 3 months, right? So for 3 months, it was in this range almost. Finally broke down. Anyway, let's take a look. Where are we holding right now? Well, pretty much where we would expect it to, right? So far. If you take the... Can't even really say that it's holding the GP because it kind of broke below already, right? And it was a pretty sharp move down, but if you keep this up here, if you can hold around this range, some chop around here, hopefully. I mean, we have this level here, right? But it already broke below there. So if we can get back above this level, I'm sure we'll go back into this range here. But this is going to be added to my list of value stocks. So like AT&T, like we just went over, Citi, probably would be good here. But if you're going to be looking at financials, you might want to just go into something a little bit stronger, like JPM, right? I think JPM's a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit nicer chart. But just be careful with the whatever risk analysis that they're doing, whatever they're doing at Citi here. But again, any news positive catalysts will probably send it back into this range here. But again, $50, it was in this for so long. I just think there's better places to put your money than in this stock, or even playing it. It's not gonna have a lot of momentum, right? Oh, they have earnings on Tuesday. Oh, all the banks have earnings this week, guys. The banks have earnings this week, so we have to be aware of that. Let's pull up the US Spur, right? I'll show you guys real quick. Take a look. So what do we have, guys? We have the banks. JP Morgan, Citi, Wells Fargo, Goldman, Bank of America, PNC. Everyone's reporting this week. Morgan Stanley. So we have to watch to see what reaction we get, how the banks are doing. Okay? But if you want to take a look at this from a technical standpoint again, right, you could argue that maybe we're doing like a little retrace back to the 20, right, like we just said. But if we do break down out of this little trend line that we're forming right now, probably we'll see again back to these lows at 40 or so, roughly right around there. So we'll see what happens. But I don't like this stock at all. I wouldn't play it. There's not much room. I mean, if you do get a good earnings, maybe you'll get back into this $50 range or so, and that's a decent move. But I'd like probably putting my money elsewhere. Amazon. Holy shit! What do I got on here? All right. Amazon, strong day, huge day, right? I'm so mad that I missed this because I actually had some options for it, calls. Closed them on Thursday, guys. I got nervous. Why? Well, I had the right to be nervous, right? Why did I have a right to be nervous? Because look at this. This zone right here, right? If you saw this, probably be a little nervous too, right? What's happening? It's rejecting this previous level at 32.30 every time, right? Rejected here, rejected here. Well, nice bullish close here, right? But the next day sell off, right? And then we got here another rejection, right? Nobody could have anticipated a nice 3% move up, but Trump did it for us, right? He had the stimulus talks. He said he wanted to get it through. Also, he's recovering really well, so Tech had a huge bounce. Amazon, Big C, a lot. Shop, all these stocks had a nice bounce back up, right? But what would I look for on Amazon? It's holding this uptrend so far, right? Right now, it's kind of just breaking out of this level that we had, right? This was the resistance at 32.60 or so. We saw a huge breakout yesterday, on Friday. So where can we go now? Well, it's gonna have to get past where here, right? But from here, where do we see? All-time highs, pretty much. It's as easy as that. Maybe we see something like this. Something like that. Right? They have earnings though coming up too. This is going to be a huge earnings season, guys. It's the second quarter earnings of COVID, right? So this is going to be our Q3 earnings. We're going to see how everyone did for Q3. Lowe's. Love it. Love Lowe's. Love Home Depot. Love these guys. The home improvement stocks are great. Okay. Kind of a little bit better Lowe's, actually, to be honest, right? We actually broke to new highs. So we didn't quite get a as much of a bullish close as I'd like, right? Whenever we break all-time highs on any stocks, I usually like to see a close at the highs of the day, hopefully. Now, does that necessarily mean that I don't like this for a long? No, I'm just saying that I usually would like to see a nice daily close to be at the highs of the day on an all-time high break. Now, what can we possibly see? Well, it does kind of look here like, let's look at the 4 hour. It does kind of look like we might backtest, go back down to where? Probably maybe the previous highs here, right? Which is just a little drop, only about 2% or so, right? So, yeah, less than 2%, right? So, ideally what I do for Lowe's is look for probably just, honestly, just a retracement back to here, right around this range here. That's what I would look for, really. That's it. But Home Depot and Lowe's have been crushing it recently, so they're going to be also a great stock to kind of buy moving forward, right? Especially when things start opening up, maybe people will start doing more home improvement. You would think that they wouldn't do as well, right? Not a lot of people doing as much home improvement, but these stocks have been doing well because people are at home. Now, not necessarily everybody's going to be renovating. They might not have the money for it, right? But from a fundamental point, you have to look at it like that people with money right now are going to be probably doing home improvement upgrades, right? They're going to be doing it themselves. A lot of people took up some new skills. This would be one of them. A lot of people had nothing else to do, so why not just fix up the house finally when you have time off? But yeah, I'd look just around here, probably something like we just said, right? If we go to the hourly, probably a little easier, right, to do. Hopefully get a back test here and then move up, back test here, and something like that. Targets. Let's do targets. Oops. Targets again, yeah, 176, 180. Cat, pissed about this one too. Hold on a sec. Alright. Gotta go after this one, guys, or I'll do one more maybe after this. Cat, we were long this stock a couple days ago in hopes of a nice move up because what we saw kind of going on here, right, was a break of hopefully this level here, right? So, where does this come into play again, though, where we're at right now? Let's mark out some of these levels before we take a look at the chart, right? And then we have our all-time highs up here, right? Okay. So, cat looks great. Cat looks great right now. Again, holding a nice trend line, right? Hopefully what we can see, though, is, I'm almost done, is a back test, again, of this high zone that we had in, let's see, 155 a couple days ago, right? But if you're already in right now, you can probably ride this out. It looks good. Now, you're going to have to break above this level. This is going to be a very critical level, 160 or so, right? But once you break through here, again, we'll just draw it out. Should hopefully see something either like this, right? And then move up, something like that. Or you could have what happen? This, here, and then up. Or possibly down, right? Something like this. Probably will hold this level if it does ever come down here, right? Okay, guys? Something like that. 3 scenarios. Probably will go to the upside, though. Look at this huge volume, right? Love it. All right, guys. Anything else? I'll do one more. Roku. All right. So Roku, I would just be day trading at this point. I think we talked about this last week too, though, right? It's riding really, really hard right now. Obviously to the upside, but what are we kind of getting here? Signs of possibly a reversal. It did have a strong day on Friday also. We saw a move all the way to 226, almost 227, which is the high, but this is kind of getting a little toppy. This is an indication that we possibly will reject if we see a bearish engulfing, right? If you see a candle engulf this previous daily at like if it closes below 221, 220, then I would, especially if it closes below 220, then I would expect people to hopefully buy some puts. Where would you go back down? Definitely to 214. If not, if it does have a sharp pullback to around 200 or so, come back to life around this range. But Roku has been doing fairly well. I think they had some news also. They're rolling out Roku channel on Amazon Fire TV. They unveiled a new Roku Ultra, and they have a new stream bar. So we'll see what happens. They're going to be rolling out new devices in the next coming weeks. So it's getting into the holiday season soon. You could see a rise in these stocks also. Okay, guys. But yeah, that's it. I wouldn't really look. I don't really see anything here that I'd like to take. Again, I would just look for a short if we do get an engulfing below Swick here, right, or below 220. Otherwise, just day trade this. We day trade it all the time. I don't really like to swing Roku just because it's very, very, very pricey to do calls and puts on. Especially because these premiums are nuts. So if you do get decayed on Roku, you get screwed. The implied move's always huge, but there are some nice pullbacks that you can get in on, right? We did have a nice one here, back to retest the previous high that it couldn't get over in beginning of September. Then we saw a move up, and then where did we see a little rejection right here? Pushed up higher though, right? So hopefully we get a retracement to around 215 or 200. But other than that, still in a nice uptrend here. I'd look for maybe, again, something like this, right? And then it'll either go up, or we'll have a sharp retracement down, something like that. Okay? Something like that. Might just continue higher, who knows? But we're in no man's land up here, right? You can't even, there's not even like if you try to do a weekly fib. I mean, probably already has, yeah, 240. Yeah, pay attention to the weekly chart. As long as it's showing signs of strength. But if you see some type of pullback, like if we get something like this on the weekly, right? Or if we get something like this, some type of inverted hammer or bearish reversal, okay? That's it, guys. Alright, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Didn't do too much. A little bit more relaxed this time. I went a lot into fundamentals. I try not to do it too much, but I think it's important to know the fundamentals too, not just the technicals, especially when you're playing during COVID times, right? But that's it, guys. We'll catch you this week. Don't forget, please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know any other stocks you want us to look at for next week. You can always drop it in the comments. But we do this every Sunday, guys, right around either 6, 7, or 8 roughly, but we're probably going to set a certain time to do it going forward. But that's it, guys. I hope everybody has a good night, and crush it this week. Let's get it. All right, guys.